What if everything you learned about who discovered America is wrong? Centuries before Columbus, Norse explorers crossed the Atlantic and established settlements in North America. The Icelandic sagas describe a land they called Vinland. But how much of this forgotten history is fact, and how much is myth? We'll dive into the archaeological evidence and conflicting saga accounts to unravel the truth about the Vikings' secret journey. Two medieval Icelandic texts hold the key to the Viking journey to America, the Saga of the Greenlanders and the Saga of Eric the Red. Both mention a land west of Greenland called Vinland, but their versions of how Norse explorers found it couldn't be more different. One claims Leif Erikson planned the expedition after hearing reports of unknown coasts. The other says he stumbled upon the continent after being blown off course during a voyage to Norway. This inconsistency makes sense when you consider how the stories survived. For generations, the Vinland tales passed orally before being written down centuries later. Details inevitably shifted. Was Bjarni Herjolfsson the first to spot North America by accident, or did Leif lead a purposeful exploration? The sagas contradict each other on key points like timelines and motivations, yet they share enough core details to suggest a foundation of truth. Historians note that medieval Norse sagas blend fact and fiction seamlessly. They weren't meant as strict historical records but as dramatic narratives. But when multiple sagas mention the same event, like the butternuts and grapes Leif reportedly found in Vinland, it hints at real experiences. The challenge is separating the plausible from the embellished. Carbon dating of artifacts found at Lance O Meadows later confirmed the Norse were in Newfoundland around 1000 AD, right when the sagas suggest. This physical evidence gives weight to certain saga details while raising questions about others. Why do the texts describe multi-year settlements when archaeology shows only brief occupation? Was Vinland a fleeting outpost or a failed colony? The sagas aren't perfect roadmaps, but they're more than myth. They preserve fragments of real voyages distorted by time yet still recognizable. Without them, we might never have known to search for Norse footprints in North America. The real mystery isn't whether the Vikings reached the continent, it's how far their exploration truly went. What else might archaeology uncover now that we know where to look? Leif Erikson grew up in a world of exiles and explorers. His father, Eric the Red, founded Greenland's first Norse settlement after being banished from Iceland for murder. By the time Leif reached adulthood, Greenland's colonies were thriving. But limited resources and restless ambition pushed Norse sailors to look farther west. When Leif sailed to Norway around 1000 AD, he converted to Christianity, which adds another layer to his later voyage. Some sagas claim King Olaf the Fai commissioned him to spread Christianity to Greenland. Others suggest he was simply following rumors of land spotted years earlier by an off-course trader named Bjarni Herjolfsson. His journey would have been impossible without Norse shipbuilding advancements. Their longships, averaging 80 feet long with shallow drafts, could navigate open oceans and rivers alike. Sailors used sunstones, calcite crystals that polarized light, to locate the sun on cloudy days. Even so, crossing the North Atlantic meant weeks of unpredictable storms, icebergs, and food shortages. That Leif completed the 800-mile voyage speaks to both his skill and the Norse culture of risk-taking exploration. Accounts suggest he made stops in Helluland, likely Baffin Island, and Markland, Labrador, before establishing a base camp at Vinland. But was Leif acting alone? Archaeological evidence shows Greenlanders regularly traveled to North America for timber, a scarce resource in their settlements. Norse society valued individual achievement, yet exploration was often a communal effort. Multiple sagas describe subsequent voyages by Leif's relatives, including his sister Freydis, who allegedly fought off indigenous attackers while pregnant. These accounts hint that Vinland wasn't just Leif's personal project, it was part of a sustained push westward. The conflicting motives in the sagas reveal how Norse culture intertwined exploration, religion, and economics. Leif might have sought Vinland to secure timber, spread Christianity, or simply outmatch his father's legacy. What's clear is that he operated within a society constantly testing geographic limits. The Greenland settlements lasted 500 years, and their descendants likely made multiple trips to North America. If Vinland failed as a permanent colony, it wasn't for lack of trying. Norse explorers kept returning until changing climates and conflicts with indigenous communities made it untenable. At Lance O Meadows, archaeologists found iron ship nails and woodworking tools suggesting repairs for multiple vessels. This raises a question: how many other Viking sites might still lie undiscovered along the North American coast? For decades, the Vinland sagas were considered legends. until a Norwegian explorer followed their clues to a windswept coast in Newfoundland. In 1960, Helge Ingstad and his team discovered a group of low grassy mounds at Lance Oak Meadows that didn't match indigenous settlement patterns. Underneath, they found the outlines of Norse-style turf buildings, and iron nails identical to those used in Viking ship repairs. Archaeologists initially questioned whether this remote site could genuinely prove transatlantic contact, but the evidence mounted quickly. The excavations revealed 8 distinct structures, including workshops and living quarters, arranged in a layout mirroring Norse farms in Greenland. Artifacts like a bronze cloak pin, a spindle whorl for weaving, and a stone oil lamp matched items from 11th century Scandinavia. Most telling were the woodworking tools and piles of wood chips, clear signs of boat repairs. Norse explorers likely used this site as a base camp for expeditions along the coast. Radiocarbon dating initially placed the settlement around 1000 AD, but a breakthrough came when scientists analyzed tree rings in cut timber. By tracking a rare solar storm event recorded in the wood's growth patterns, they pinpointed the exact year, 1021 AD. This dating aligns with the saga's timeline but raises new questions. The settlement shows signs of being occupied for perhaps a decade at most, with no evidence of permanent farming or graves. Some historians argue it was a seasonal camp for gathering resources like timber, while others think it served as a way station for explorers pushing farther south. The absence of defensive structures suggests the Norse didn't face immediate threats, yet sagas mention conflicts with indigenous groups. What makes Lance Oak Meadows significant isn't just its confirmation of Norse presence, it's what the site implies about the scale of their exploration. Butternuts found there don't grow in Newfoundland. They had to be brought from locations over 500 miles south, meaning the Vikings explored far beyond this single settlement. The UNESCO World Heritage designation underscores its importance but also how much remains unknown. If this was just one stop in a larger network of Norse activity, where are the other sites? The discovery rewrote history books, yet it's only the first chapter. As coastal erosion exposes new areas and technology improves, chances increase that we'll find more evidence of Viking journeys along North America's eastern shores. The Norse voyages to North America remind us that discovery is rarely a single moment, but a series of attempts often lost to time. We celebrate Columbus because his voyages stuck, not because he was first. The Vikings' brief presence hints at how fragile historical memory can be. Without Lance Oak Meadows, their story might have stayed legend. History favors the narratives that get written down by the winners, not necessarily those who came before. As shorelines shift and new technologies uncover old sites, one question lingers. What other abandoned settlements or failed expeditions might still reshape our understanding of the past?